Hello friends, let us study about foundation of HMI. This is the first chapter of human machine interface. So, what is the human all about? The human is a user or a system developer or a system design or anything that he or she can might be. So, the requirement of the users should be our first priority. This sentence is very similar is used in the context of software engineering also. How it's similar? How it is? The same thing. Software engineering focuses on the requirement. The main principle is about the requirement. And according to the requirement, the system is developed. Maybe an interactive system or a productive system and so on. So let us talk about in context of HMI. We are not talking about software engineering. So let us talk about IO channels. Now what is IO channels? It's like a person interaction with the outside world occurs through the information being received. So received and sent, input and output. So what is the input and output channel in a human body? So the use of terms input and output may lead to a confusion. So we shall use the distinctly what, somewhat and concentrate on the channels involved. So input is in the human occurs mainly through senses and output through the motor control of the effectors. What is a motor control? That we write, how we hold a pencil, how we react when we see some interesting thing like a riddles, brain teasers. All we need to exercise a brain to give us a proper output. So there are five major senses. The out of this is sight, hearing, touch, taste and smell. And out of this, the three is the most important to a human computer interface. Taste and smell do not play a significant role because we cannot eat and see, oh, our processor was very tasty, or we cannot smell, wow, what a aroma of a processor. But we can smell the burning of a processor and so on. So we have to look into categorization of our senses like sight, our vision, our hearing, what we hear, and touch, what we see. Then the IO channels is in the interaction with the computer. Your finger plays an important role, of course. There may be. So there are number of effectors including the limbs, our legs, fingers, eyes, head, and the vocal system. How we communicate. So nowadays it's available like Google Talk, Siri in your iPad and so on. Like you ask how what is the temperature today, Siri, some kind of thing, and she replies, or Alexa, what Alexa, can you play, Alexa play, so Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and Alexa start playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So that is an interactive system. That how it's playing, that means your Alexa is identified your voice, what exactly you want, and interpreted that system. She started playing the song and so on. So the application that you're using is your graphical interface with menu, icon, and windows. Then touch, so it's the application that has, it's mainly with icons, windows. Okay, so in your interaction system with this system, when you receive information which you see, which you hear from what appears on the screen, however you may receive information by ear. For example, computer may beep. Now this beeping, a low beep, short beep, then too long, too short, one long, one short, one short, too long. So kind of probabilities. So that depends upon the bias, and immediately at the beeping of your system, you can identify that what's going on or what's wrong with your computer and so on. So how this beep draw your attention, that when you hear, your brain activates, yes, there is that send a signal, yes, there's some sound I heard, and then you immediately start reacting. Then touch also play. That means when you move your fingers on the keyboard, press your key, desired key. Why do you press? Because when you think like making a spelling like kite, oh, we are typing the word kite, so what is the spelling? So when you just say Kite, so where are the keys located? The keys are synchronous, or they are not in uniformity. You search and you find out, so this helps in your vision. Then first is your eyes. Vision. So human visions is high complex activity with the range of physical and perceptual limitations. So the physical properties of the eyes and visual system means there are certain things that cannot be seen by the humans. Or on the other hand, the interpretive capabilities of the visual allows images to be constructed from incomplete information. So it is divided visual perception of into the two stages: the physical reception of the stimulus from the outside world and the processing and interpretation. So how actually it works? That means we need to understand the stages as both the influence what can and cannot be perceived, something that is triggered first, and how it has been intercepted, how it's perceived, and how it's reacted to that reaction, the event which has been triggered. So these two, then you have a visual perception. So what is the visual perception? Like understanding the basic construction of the eye. So I hope you remember all your eye construction which you have studied in your school or in your colleges, like in a higher one. So the information received by your visual apparatus, like the information which I caught with the help of eye, that has to be filtered, that is filtered and is passed to the processing element which allow us to recognize coherent scenes, sub-relative distances and differentiate colors. So the information received by this must be filtered. Then perceiving your size and depth. So imagine you're standing on the hilltop, suppose, and beside you on the summit you see the rocks, your ships are gazing, and a small tree. But on the hillside is a farmhouse with outbuildings and farm vehicles. So someone is on the track walking outside and the summit. So below is the market. Now what happens is this, the visual angle indicates how much of the field of the view is taken by the object. Like I can see the surrounding, but can I see the farmhouse located? Can I see the lake near the farmhouse? I can see it very small, because how far my vision has traveled, how far I can see, that is the one question. Then the mode of measurements has been established, like it is small or it is big, it is too short or it's too long, and so on. Then you have a law of size constancy, and it indicates a perception that what it realizes. So how far we see, what is the eye perceive size, depth, and relative distances. The size and the height of the object in our field view provides is a distance, so how far or what from. So a third cue is familiarity, that we expect an object to be certain size, then we can judge its distance accordingly. Then there are certain angles, like how far you can see, on what angle you can see, oh this is small, this is big, and so on. Then you have a perceiveness of brightness. That means a second aspect of visual perception is the perception of their brightness. The first thing, brightness is very subjective reaction to the levels of light, how far the brightness should be maintained. The first thing, because it should not affect the eye. When you create your system, you should see that your eyes should be eyesight should not be affected because of this bright side. So luminance is a physical characteristics and can be measured using a photometer. Then you have a luminance of an object depends on the amount of light falling on the object surface and its reflect properties. Well, I need not to explain in such details, because you have gone through this light, sound, water, and so on in your physics lessons. So let's revise this, because this is, you need not to understand so deeply. You just need to understand, because these are basic things, these are the foundations of your interactive level. When you design, when will you design your interactive system, you should think about all these points, that your contrast should, how your contrast should be made, how your brightness should be made, how interactive your system should be. Because what happens is, later on the physical parts of our body should not be affected. Like there too much of light, my eyes starts paining, or my eyes is watered. So because of this brightness, I need to adjust this brightness. I have to make it low. I have to make it a contrast in such a way that should not affect my eyesight. Then perceiving color. A third factor what we need is a perception of colors. Color is usually regarded as being up made of three components: is blue in hue, sorry, not blue, hue, intensity, and saturation. And hue is determined by the spectral wavelength of your light. So how this is, the eyes perceive color between the cones that are sensitive to light to different waves, and there are three different cones. So we have like RGB, that means blue, green, and red. So color vision is best in fovea and worse in the periphery where rods predominate. Then this is about which line I'm talking about. So this layer illusion, that is which line is stronger, the black or the red. Of course, by noticing it, you can find that blue line is much more than the small line. Now next is your reading. How reading helps you. So that means again this is related to your eyesight or how your brain triggers. That means so far we have talked about the concentrations of the or the perception of image in general. Now perception and the processing of the text is in the special case that is important to interface. Now we will therefore this section by looking at reading. There are several stages in the reading. First is visual pattern of the word on the page is perceived. Then we have it is decoded with reference to an internal representation of language. Then the final stage of the language processing includes synthetic semantic analysis to understand it. The final stage of language process includes synthetic and semantic, of course, and operate on phrases on sentence. So during reading, the eyes make jerky movements and called cascades, followed by a fixation. So perception helps you to absorb the amount of information by reading it into 94% of the time elapsed. So adults read approximately 250 words in a minute. So it is unlikely that words are scanned seriously. Now, character by character, since experience experiments has a shot that words can be recognized as quickly. It can. The speed at which the text can be read is a measure of your eligibility. If your legibility, that means I can read at least so much points with given seconds or given time, then you are good in the reading. Then the next senses is about your hearing. Now, hearing is the main. The sense of hearing is often considered secondary to sight, but we tend to underestimate the amount of information that we have. Now, close your eyes for a moment and listen. Okay, I'll meditate. I close my eyes and I listen. Oh, I see the sounds of honking. That means the traffic is moving, the cars are honking or bikes are honking. I just hear the sounds of honking, nothing else. I have a pin drop silence. But can hear the voice from outside from my apartment. So where are they coming from and what is making them? So if I sit and list out the points, I can see that cars, the people talking, and so on. But I can also tell where the sounds are coming from because I have estimate the measure of the hearing of that sound, how far they have traveled. So the first thing is your auditory system can convey a lot of information about the environment. Then a human ear. Now human ear. So just as the vision begins with light, hearing begins with vibration in the air or sound waves. So the ear receives this vibration and transmits them through various stages to the auditory nerves. That means the ear compromises your three sections: outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. So the as the vision, the ear compromises. Now the outer ear is a visible part of a ear and it has two parts: the pinna, which is a structure that is attached to the sound, your head, and auditory canal along with the waves are passed to the middle ear. The middle ear is almost a small cavity connected to the outer by which the tympanic membrane or eardrum to the inner by collia and are connected. So within this cavity are the corticals and the small bones in the body. Then you have a processing sound. That means okay, last point I forgot to say that the waves are passed into the liquid filled with colia in the inner ear. So within the colia are delicate hair cells or cilia that bend because of the vibration in the colia liquid. Now, processing sound, that means a pitch. It has a number of characteristics which can differentiate. So pitch is frequency of the sound. A low frequency produces a low pitch, a frequency or high pitch. Loudness is proportional to the amplitude of the sound. So frequency remains constant and loudness is proportional to the amplitude of the sound. That means your pitch. See, now you can hear me. Hi. Now, what was that? It was like hi. I sounded like singing a song. Hi. So if I say hi, did you see my pitch? How that pitch was reduced from large to small? Okay. Now if I say, did you hear what I said? Did you heard this? No, because I said in a small pitch. Hi. I said in a loud pitch, and in the middle, hello. So how this pitch you can identify, because you can hear certain sound from your ear. That means we can identify sound location using our two ears that receive different sounds irrespective of the time difference between the sound reaching to the ears and reduction in intensity. Then the auditory system performs some filtering of the sound. Now next is your touch. So touch provides a vital informations about the environment. It is considered as haptic perception. Now haptic is a hand. It from the hand it has been developed as haptic perception. Now touch is provides us with vital information about the environment. That means it tells us what we touch. Either we touch a cold or a hot or a lukewarm and so on. So it provides us a feedback when we attempt to lift an object. Now, if I lift some, like I remove, for example, I removed ice from a refrigerator, and immediately when I caught hold of that ice, I said, "Oh, it's so cold! It's so cold." Or when I'm making a tea, and when I hold that container bowl, that what I'm making the tea, so that container is also so hot that I'll drop the container if I touch with the bare hand. So I have to use the tonsils, pair of tongs. Now it also provides us feedback when we are, for example, now consider the act of picking up a glass of water. Now if I see a glass and not feel that the hands made contact with it or feel its shape, speed, accuracy, and so on, then touch is therefore important means of feedback, and there is no less in using a computer system. Yes, touch is my feedback, and because I'm writing through it. The screen contains three type of sensory, like thermoceptors respond to heat and cold, nociceptors responds to intense pressure, heat and pain, and meconoceptors responds to the pressure. Then button feeling button depress is an important task of your pressing the button. I can feel the button. The apparatus of touching differs from the sight and hearing is that it has not localized. That means we receive a stimuli from the skin itself. Then the movements. Uh, the other thing is the whole body contains such receptors. Some areas have a greater sensitivity or less. Then we have movement. Now what is the movement? It's like our eyes are movement. So we need to consider motor control, the way we affects and that we move affects interaction with computers. So a single action such as hitting a button in response to that question involves a number of processing stages. That is a stimuli. That means why I hit that button, enter through the sensory respiratory and transmit it to the brain, and then under that brain that signal has processed and that value response is being generated. So that movement times it's dependent largely on your physical characteristics, age, fitness, for example, and reaction may vary from person to person. Yes, there's nothing to explain as such that how the movement is done. Movement is like movement of your eyes, movement of your body, movement of your hand, and so on. So movement time is dependent largely on the physical features, and speed and accuracy of the movements are the consideration in your interactive design system. The target may be your button. Now, if I press button, mouse click, pointing device, icon, clicking on the icons, and so on. So there is a law given. The moment time is like a plus b log 2 and distance divided by size plus 1. So my a and b are empirically determined constants. Then you have your human memory. Now human memory is about the day-to-day activities of your memory rely. So we have factual memory means some facts which are stored in our memory and contains a knowledge of actions or procedure. So there are three types of memory. There are three types of memory. Then there are sensory buffers or a short time memory, or working memory, and a long time memory. How this memory differs or how they work. Now we have sensory management. Sensory management, when we are access the buffers, it's like where all our memories are stored and they can be reflected through our senses. A sensory memory, that means your short term memory, exists for each sensory channel, like iconic memory of visual stimuli, echoic memory for oral stimuli, and haptic, it's like from your eyes, visual, how you see, how you hear, how you touch. There is all lot there are lots of memory to be stored, or to be stored mean they are stored, and with something, with your touch, I feel like, oh, this, for example, when you go and purchase your fabric, suppose, and when you feel the softness of your fabric and that reminded of your felt toys or any something that happened in the past, immediately you speak out, oh, this, I have seen this fabric, this is so soft and silky, I have this once when I was small, and so on. So how this communicate, how this come up is through this memory. Then the existence of echoic, like sound, oh, I have heard this song, I've heard this sound, I can recognize the voice, I think that's the singer, the one who sang this song. So this is how you relate this memory about your voice, about your touch, and so on. So attention is the concentration of your mind on which of number of compelling stimuli or thoughts. So it is clear that you are able to focus attention selectively. Then let us see about the short-term memory. So short-term memory is like scratch pad for temporary recall, and it is used to store information which is required when it is used, and it can vanish quickly. Yes, your answers, your study. It's like first year is over, you finished your first year subjects, you will not touch anymore. And of course, later on you will forget when you by the time you are in third year, you will forget your first year or second year subjects, isn't that? So this is called a short-term memory. And I think you will relate to one movie of short-term memory. So there are two basic methods of measuring memory capacity. The first one is involves determining the length of a sequence which can be remembered in order and allows you to freely recall in an order. So limited capacity of short-term memory produces a subconscious which is create. So there may be chunks like small pieces of memory, and you can have a optimized like a small amount of information that is stored information. So this can be known as a closure, and use of these small pieces as a pattern of abstraction which helps to create a memory. Then you have a long term memory. Now we store the factual information, experiential difference, knowledge, procedure, rules, behavior, in fact everything we know. So it differs from short term memory in a number of significant ways, like first it is huge, second it's relatively low access time, approximately 10 seconds, and so on. So in long term memory, it's intent to have a long information which is stored. Maybe your childhood memory is a long term memory, you can classify this. Then a long time memory structure, like it has this episodic memory and semantic memory. An episodic memory represents your events and your experience, and your semantic memory is a structured records of facts, concepts. It's about your studies, can I say, and that's about your childhood, about your college life, and how you deal with your activities and so on. So structural representations such as frame and scripts recognize information into data structures, and there's slots which allows you to add it. It's some kind of database, if you can remember. It's kind of a database example that our memory plays. Then you have a long term memory process. So how it happens now? There are three mainly activity, like storage or remembering of information, forgetting, and information retrieval. So Abbekin is performing numerous experiments of memory, like he tests his ability to learn and repeat nonsense syllabus. I mean, if I learn something which has no meaning, so what is the use? It is just a trial based to help you to see that it is stored in your brain or not. It discovered that the amount learned with was directly proportional to the amount of time spent in learning. So first theory suggests that the information held in long-term memory may be eventually forget. Yes. Now in this way we finish with the IO channels, and do revise this presentation because this is the base of your human foundations of HMI, which will help you to develop your interactive system. Later we'll see about next topic, we will see about thinking skills and so on. Till then, bye.